Hi, this is Sally, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make basic lined curtains. This is a video that I have had requests for on and off for the past 4 years, but unless I get asked to do something by one of my friends, there's no point in me actually doing it because I get enough variety to post on my YouTube channel as it is. I think it's got quite a big pattern repeat, but we'll find that out in a minute, and we'll discuss everything that needs to be discussed as we make them. So let's get on with it. Something you need to be aware of is how far a pattern repeat is. A pattern repeat is from, say, the top of this flower here to the top of the matching flower here. In this case, pattern repeat is nearly 25 inches or 63 centimeters. So I have to bear that in mind, and I need these curtains to be 99 finished. I will work down for how long these need to be. I've cut in where the end is. That includes 99 plus 12 inches for the hem, and I'm lining up as best I can from this pattern to this pattern here. It doesn't want to do quite what I want it to do. As I go across, I'm going to make sure that this pattern is in here all the way. That's going to be my cut line. Pull it onto that line, and I'm going to cut all the way across. It's going to give me a pretty good idea of where I'm going. So it should be nearly 5 pattern repeats on this one, and I have to match it. So whatever I've done on this one has to be on the second panel because I'm doing 2 panels. I've laid it over with the centre going up here, and because it's only got 2 matching patterns either side, I'm going to measure down on this side to here. I'm going to match this pattern for the hem. Iron that in very carefully, there to there across. I'm going to pull the fabric one way. I've measured 6 inches, so 6 inches usually keeps a pretty straight line. That is going to come into this side, like that. I'm going to take it the other way and even it into the other end of the curtain panel, like this. If it's warped, it's really not going to have warped very far. Now, when I was taught to do curtains, I was taught to fold it up 4 inches and then fold it down 1, but I am going to fold it into half. So it's a 3-inch hem on the bottom, which it would be anyway. I'm going to iron that into place. Make sure that's all folded in evenly. Now when I do the next panel, I'm going to match up the middle 2 flowers like I just did and iron it exactly the same way so they match to each other. Basically the same as the unlined curtains, not much different so far. Just like with the basic unlined curtains, I am going to sew the hem into place. I've got it on the longest stitch. I'm going to sew all the way across here. Should be as close to the fold along here as you can make it, so it's probably 1/8 of an inch from here to here, 1/4 of a centimetre if that. With the lining, I did the same measurements. I folded it up 6 and then popped this inside, so it's got a nice 3-inch hem. You could, if you wanted, just fold it up 5 inches and then you've only got a 2.5-inch hem on the lining, and that would be fine. Pop this under here like I did with the front facing, and just keep everything level like you did the first time round. And again, sew all the way across as evenly as you can. Keep the hem flat because you don't want it twisting, and that's the same with the front of the fabric. Just keep everything as flat and even as possible. As I was looking at the fabric, this raw edge is a little bit fluffy and it's not going to go in very evenly. Sometimes you have to do this not because it's fluffy on the end, but because the selvage is a lot tighter than the rest of the fabric. So if you don't do this, then you end up with really wonky looking side seams, which you don't want. Fold this over and iron it 1.25 inches in. It's a little bit wider than usual, but it'll be fine. Basically, it's from where the colour starts to the edge. Pop that there, measure a little bit further up, and then pull it straight from the bottom to the top and iron it in place. I'm only going to do it on one side of the curtain at this particular time, all the way up. I would do it both sides, but I don't have a huge table anymore. I used to have a 4'8" table, which makes life so much easier. But I'm making do with what I've got now. Once it's all ironed in, fold the raw edge in like this, just like in the basic unlined curtains, and again iron up. Now the nice thing about this is you're going to follow from pattern to pattern, so that part of the pattern there has to match with this part of the pattern here. I'm going to do that all the way up, and I also just iron as I go in general, because I'm trying to keep all of this as flat and as smooth as possible so I don't have too much ironing to do later. Unlike the unlined curtains, the lining has been pushed in, and I'm going to start at the bottom here and sew on up, forward and back at the bottom, and then just sew evenly. It sounds like that because it's really having to force its way through all of those layers. Remove the pins as you go. Keep your hem that's going in as even as you can. Don't pull the lining, roll it in. Sometimes it will adjust, but you need to keep everything as tight as you can and even as you can. As with the other side, I'm going to fold that over, measure it up to 1 1/4 inches and iron that into place like that. What I really need to do is to fold that in and iron it in place as tightly as you can into that section, because you need the information off of there. I'm going to measure across, and it's about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to cut 2.5 inches off all the way up here, just like this. Find the pattern here, and then find the pattern further up, and just press that all into place, all the way up. When you open this up, the lining is right where you need it in that crease line. Fold the side over like that, make it neat, and just press that into place. I find that if I do one side and then fold everything into place, I get better results than trying to measure and decide where something's going to go. The lining is lined up there. I'll put another one in here to hold the lining, and then here. And now I'm going to just work all the way up exactly the same way till I get to the top. And then I'll make sure the second curtain is the same. Then all you need to do is sew from the top down on these curtains. What I tend to do is I just make sure that those are in. I don't stretch them. You sometimes need to check that the lining is where it is meant to be. And then just sew down. Just like you sewed up, you sew down. All the way to the bottom. I'm going to measure from the base of the side here up to 30 inches. I'm going to do this in increments of 30. Actually, I'm going to make it 100 inches, so that's 90 inches plus 10. At the moment, these still have the pins in for holding the lining in. I'm going to keep these in until I've got the heading in at the other end, although this won't move very much. Usually I do either side and the middle, but this fabric is so stiff, I don't need to do that. I just got to make sure that I've got both sides. If you have a fabric that is a little bit more pliable, then you're going to have 3 points of reference. That goes to there, pull that up, and put that on here at 30, so that makes 60 inches. And again here, I folded this along pin and along the pin on the other side. I'm going to pull this out as tight as I can and pinch it in the middle. I'm going to iron from that end to the area in the middle that's pinched together, like that. I'm going to take it from the middle here to the outside edge here, and again pull it into place. I can remove this, and again press it into place all the way along. There we go. I'll move this back over here. This is a compressed paper, I think, with fibres in it. Possibly. In England we would have what they call crinoline, and it's a cotton. Basically does the same thing. So I'm going to pop that in here, fold this over, pull that towards the end but certainly close to. Now the tape that I've just put in is 4 inches, but I'm going to cut this off at 5. And now make sure you only cut the bit you need, not the other side. I have cut the wrong side before, and it is a horrible feeling you get when you realise that's what you've done. And then it takes a little bit of thought to put it back together so nobody notices. I'm going to cut that all the way along here. I'm going to roll that underneath there. I'm keeping it all flat. You don't want it to rut. You just want it to be nicely popped in there. This is the heading that you use if you're going to do pinch pleats, but I figured that this might be the right heading to use. putting grommets in as well, because it will hold the top of the curtain in place. I'm just going to pin that in along here for now. Make sure that the fabric is quite tight around there. Not too tight, otherwise you're going to cause everything to move, but just tight enough that it's not going to pop down until I get to the other side. I don't usually sew these in because I usually have pinch pleats which hold all of this in place, but seeing as I'm putting grommets in, I'm going to just quickly sew across the bottom here. Make sure that it stays in place, not too hard up, but enough that it's not going to droop down. And I'm going to make my way all the way across the top here. I'm going to be putting grommets in the head of this. I have 8 grommets to put in. Always put in even numbers, and all I'm going to do is section it off. So I've got my ends together here, which I am going to put a centre mark in. Put your pin down. It won't matter if they're just slightly off, that's fine. Then I'm going to bring this section over to the centre, which means that I've quartered it. So I want 2 in each quarter. Put a pin down. So I'm going to section that off again like that, which gives me where I'm going to put each grommet. I'm going to put one here and one there. So again, I need to section that off until I have where I'm putting the grommet. Then the easiest way to do it is I'm going to fold that over, take this pin out because I don't need it, pop it in here. That's where my grommets are going. Fold that over, take this one out of here, pop it in here, opposite that one, and another pin opposite this one. That's one side done. And then all I'm going to do is lay this side on top of the other side, and with new pins, oh she's naughty, put them in. Hey, scooch. Golly gosh, it's not one thing, it's another. I've matched that one up, I've matched this one up, I've matched this one up, and then I'm going to take this one out and just pop it under here. So now I have where each grommet is going to go. I'm going to make sure that it's even with the top, so this line runs even with the top of my curtain, like that. Align the template at the 2-inch mark down there, and this is going across the top and down. So where that crosses is where I'm going to be putting the mark. I'm going to pull that out like that, take my pen, mark, there. And I'm going to move to the next one. Again, I'm going to put my tape measure down, run it along the side of the pin, put my template down so it matches the 2 on there and is going up and down, and again put the drawing in. I'm going to do that all the way across the top of this curtain. What I've done is folded the circle in half. With a pair of scissors, I'm going to cut through. Do not go over if you can help it. You straighten it out and then you start cutting inside along the line of the circle. You get a smoother line of cutting if you use all of the blade of your scissors, but you can take little nippets out if you wanted, that's up to you. Be careful you don't cut too far outside those lines, and make sure it's all the way around like that. The grommets come in 2 parts. One part has a collar, so it's slightly raised like that, and the other part doesn't, it has teeth. Put the part that has the collar on it underneath like that. Push all of the fabric down all the way around, and then pop this piece on top. It takes a little bit of pushing, but it clicks on like that. So once you do one, you can easily nip along and do all of the others. Now, if you want to change out your grommets, you can. There's a little opening here, and all you have to do is put a flathead screwdriver in and twist it, and it should be just enough to pull that out. Some of them are a little bit awkward to get in, but I think it's the fabric there. Oh, blimey. There we go. All of them are done. I'm actually ironing them face up. This is actually for the side of my house, which is like 18 inches by 8 foot. I'm folding it up and putting it onto a piece of wood 6 inches wide by 8 foot. So if you're doing long curtains, always make sure that you are in a position to really stretch them out. Get them folded into the pleats if you can, which I've done over there. By the time I get to the lady a little bit later this morning, I should have managed to transport these in such a way that they are still pleated up and looking neat and tidy. Thank you for joining me on this project. I've wrapped them up and I will actually cover the top so that they can't get damaged in transport. And I'm already getting anxiety because I've got to hang them. I hate doing installations. If you'd like to hear more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button, and a few thumbs up would be absolutely brilliant. And in the meantime, take care, see you later. Ciao!